Please be seated. The world, maybe not the church, but the world doesn't really pause for Christmas. Even as some of us gather in warmth and light with our families, somewhere else lives are weighed down by hunger and fear. Some lives are broken by violence, by decisions made far from their homes. The quiet of our celebration is not the quiet of the world. It's only a bubble. And into this world that does not pause, the church gives us John. John's gospel does not begin with a story. There is no manger, no shepherd, no wise men. There's no lullaby to quiet the chaos. John begins with the architecture beneath all the stories, the creative density that holds the universe together, and the Word was made flesh. This is the physics of our faith, the glory of God entering history not as an idea or a theological abstraction, but as a weight, as a presence, the eternal density of God condensed into flesh, a presence that we can stand beside, touch, and know. And when something has a real weight like that, it doesn't merely just appear, it presses. It presses on history. It presses on our conscience. It presses back against every lie that says nothing really matters. That's why the Incarnation exposes how thin so much of our world has become. We live amid a lawlessness that feels like the vandalism of reality itself. Faith is emptied of its substance and repurposed to bless violence. On Christmas Day, just a few days ago, the skies over Nigeria glowed red with the fire of American Tomahawk missiles. These strikes were framed by our political leaders as a gift. But to drape violence in the language of Christmas is more than a failure of rhetoric. It is sacrilege. It is an attempt to manufacture a false weight, the weight of power, to disguise emptiness beneath. Because think of it, a bomb is at its core a hollow thing. It creates meaning by blowing a hole in the world. But the Word of God is not hollow. The Word is full. The Word does not unmake reality, it brings it into being. Sometimes we mistake the glory, like the glory of God, for reputation. Visibility, applause, the hollow flicker of approval that can vanish overnight. But the glory that John is talking about, that John testifies to, is something much older and much heavier. The kavod, the weight of God. When King Solomon dedicated the first temple in Jerusalem, the kavod filled the house of the Lord and descended with such force that none of the priests could stand. They were forced to the floor, they were displaced. Not punished, not rejected, but pushed from the center of the room by a reality that didn't really require them, didn't require their performance. That's the judgment of Christmas. The weight of God enters into history, and then there is no longer any space for our ego or our empires or our claims of righteousness. We are stripped of our justifications. And so we will be made solid too, or we will be undone. John tells us the Word became flesh, the Word didn't become a policy or a geopolitical strategy or a religious ideology. God became a body that could bleed, a body that could be broken. And by taking on skin, God declares that the weight of the universe is not found in abstraction, but in proximity, in solidarity, in the vulnerable nearness of another human being. When the bombs fall on families in Nigeria, it is an assault on the temple of God. The Word has become flesh, so every human being, every human body carries a weight of glory that no explosion can erase. To reduce people to targets is an attempt not only to kill them, but to hollow out reality itself. These bombs don't just wound the bodies, they wound the Word of God that we confess. And so we know this struggle here at the Cathedral. We know it not just as an idea, but as a discipline. More than 100 years ago, this cathedral was dedicated to be a bulwark against brutality, a physical no to the hollowing out of reality. And it was built at human speed. Stone by stone, it insisted that some things can't be rushed or made efficient. Do you know what's efficient? Brutality. Brutality is efficient. It will dismantle in one afternoon what took generations to create. But love is inefficient. It's slow. It's heavy. It requires patience. The patience of staying in the room. This unfinished cathedral reminds us that the Word did not become a monument. The Word became flesh, growing, vulnerable, pliant, always unfinished, always bearing weight, flesh. And so when we step into this space, we are not here to hide from the red skies of Nigeria or the hollowing out of the language of our age. We come here to be made so heavy with the reality of God that we become unmovable when the winds of violence and brutality blow. To lean against these stones is not a retreat, it is a mobilization. We come to remember that the kavod, that presence of God, it will displace every power that treats human life as a target. As the Dean reminds us, if it is hard for you to hold on to these values, then come. Stand here. Lean against these stones. This is not just the shelter, this is a training ground. It is a training ground for our souls. It is the quiet, embodied no that insists this world is not disposable, and neither are any of the people in it. Every Sunday, we gather here. This building gathers bodies that refuse to disappear, bodies that choose to stay, bodies that will stand next to one another, bodies that have agreed we will bear one another's weight. And so when the world feels thin, when our language is violated, when cruelty pretends to be righteous, when reality itself is hollowed out, come, stand here. Don't just seek comfort. Seek the weight, that center of gravity for the world that says, the world doesn't belong to chaos or to the bombs in the sky. It belongs to the Word that became flesh. And because that Word took on flesh, it has taken on weight. And so has this world. That is the glory that we have seen. And it is enough.